Hello everyone, welcome to Selah as we journey through Lent together. As you'll hopefully know, as a team we're giving over this Lenten period to exploring 7 different spiritual disciplines. We'll be focusing on one each weekday. On Wednesdays we'll be exploring fasting. So if you're tuning into this episode, welcome to the second week of our fasting journey.
I will stop and breathe in your presence. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Over Lent, I've committed to fasting food and only drinking water for 1 day a week. If you're joining me fasting, I'd love to hear about what you've chosen to do for your fast days, how you're finding it, and anything that God has been speaking to you about. I'll begin by sharing. Last week, my fast started out with a cup of coffee. Yes, that's right. I know I was supposed to be drinking just water, but I woke up early and like a creature of habit just plodded on with my normal routine. I hopped in the shower, put the kettle on, got things ready for my day, ground my coffee beans, poured my coffee, sat on the sofa with my brew for 10 minutes before work. And it was only after I'd savoured that last precious mouthful of coffee that I remembered. Oh! Now, it can be very easy once you've already slipped up or deviated away from your best intentions to write off the whole day. But those are the moments where you just have to hit the reset button and carry on. So that's what I did, even though I was annoyed with myself. Now, I definitely didn't find it the easiest of days, but as I fasted through the rest of the day, I did have a sense of God's peace. I've had a bit of an anxious time of late for one reason or the other, and I haven't had the best nights of sleep. But as the day progressed, I felt little nudges in my spirit to just stop for a moment and pause. To have a Selah moment, if you will. It can be quite hard to slow down sometimes, especially if you're feeling anxious because of what might catch up to you when you do eventually stop. But I felt God's encouragement to do just that, to stop. When I did, I wouldn't necessarily say that I heard God's voice, but I did have a sense that he was right alongside me, closer than I realise, and I felt a peace fill me as I remembered that he is so much bigger than the things that were filling my heart and mind with anxious thoughts. As I thought about him, those things faded into the background. My takeaway from that was feeling like I want to understand more of what it means to be a person of peace, to truly carry that peace of God, to be anchored in it, and for that to flow out of everything that I do, say, and think. I get the sense that peace will be a bit of a theme for me over Lent, but I'll keep you posted. Now, back to the topic at hand, fasting. As I'm sat here, it's my second time fasting, and all I'm aware of is how hungry I am. My stomach feels hollow, and it's hard sometimes to not focus on those feelings, and instead to fix my thoughts on God and ask him to meet me in my weakened and hungry state. It's important to remember too, that we don't fast just to deny ourselves or to do something holy. We're fasting because we desire more of God, and we want to encounter more of Jesus. God isn't in the business of encouraging us to do things to prove ourselves and our love for him. We can't fast or do anything to earn his favour or blessings, or to show him just how devoted we are to him. We can't do anything to make him love us any more than he already does. We can't manipulate God to do what we want by actions we take. That isn't what fasting is about. It's about pursuing intimacy and relationship with God. He cares more about the state of our hearts and our willingness to love and be obedient to his leadership, rather than us ticking a spiritual box. I'm not saying our heart attitude will be right all the time, but the more that we pursue Jesus, the more that we'll be transformed from the inside out. Fasting in order to seek God's blessing, well, that's focused around ourselves. But we're called to fast in a way that seeks God out first, so that our focus becomes him and his will. In Matthew 6:16-18, Jesus talks about fasting. It says, "When you fast, do not look sombre as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they're fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." Did you notice that he opens that bit of dialogue by saying, when you fast? Not if you fast, but when. This is an encouragement that fasting should be a regular part of our walk with God. Jesus promises in that passage that God will reward those who fast, who do it with the right heart and the right spirit. The reward is that we get to experience depth of relationship with God that we never knew before. I want to read another passage to you from Isaiah 58 that tells us some of what God intended fasting to be for. It says, "Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and he will say, 'Here I am.'" What do we learn from that? That God ordained fasting to loose the chains of injustice, to lift heavy burdens, to free the oppressed, to provide for the poor and hungry, to have a revelation of the glory of God in our lives, for healing, for righteousness to break forth, and for God's glory and power to work in and through us. We're called to fast to encounter the great things of God, to know him more deeply, and to change the world by partnering with his heart. If you're fasting along with me, I'd encourage you to journal or write down somewhere the things that you're experiencing or things that God is speaking to you about. It's so valuable to be able to look back, see and reflect on the journey that you're going on. Often you can't see the shape that it's taking and the patterns that are forming when you're in the midst of it. Maybe some days you'll feel like there's silence when you fast, but I want to encourage you that that's okay too. It's okay if it feels really hard sometimes. It's a lifestyle that we're trying to build, and one day will be different to another. As we listen to this song, just stop what you're doing for a moment if you can. Pause and take a breath. Be aware of how you're feeling in your surroundings. Anything that you're carrying that feels heavy on your heart or mind, picture yourself setting it at the foot of the cross and surrendering to Jesus. He's waiting with open arms to welcome us and to speak to us if we will only draw close and listen.
I surrender all to you, my God. I will give you all I have. For you took my filthiness and made me clean. Oh, I love you, Lord. Your praises I will sing. Heaven shines, for I have been redeemed. Yeah. I lay down my life, my plans, my rights, for I'm captured by your love. And though I lose this world, I will know you. Yes, I love you, Lord. Your praises I will sing. I will sing. Let heaven shout, for I have been redeemed. Oh God, nothing compares to your God. I know that nothing compares. Oh, I know that nothing compares to you. Tasted and I've seen, know